Breaking news that is coming in on the broadcast. Inflation, the latest April inflation figures are out. It is at 7.79%. So April retail inflation is at 7.79%. Compare this with March, when it was 6.95%. So food inflation is at 8.10% for April versus 7.68% in March. This is the big breaking story that we're tracking at this hour. For viewers who are just joining us, I want to just break down the numbers once again. The April retail inflation at 7.79% versus 6.95%. That's what it was in March. Food inflation at 8.1% for April versus 7.68% for March. Vegetable inflation for April is also at 15.41%. To break down these numbers, Priyanshi joins us in the studio with all the very latest. Priyanshi, how should we be looking at these numbers? It is, of course, higher than what was in March, which is what was anticipated.
That's right, Rishika. The numbers are really concerning because with 7.79%, the inflation figures are above RBI's target for the fourth straight month. Remember, RBI has a target to maintain inflation below 6% and to keep it within a range of 2 to 6%. But now it has gone beyond 6% for the last 3 months, and this is the fourth month that the inflation is above RBI's set target. So this definitely is a concern. And if we break down the numbers for you, the inflation rate for food and beverages is at 8.1%. The inflation rate for clothing wear and footwear is at 9.85%. The inflation for housing is 3.47%. While the inflation for fuel, as we would expect with rising global crude oil prices and rising prices in India as well, the inflation for fuel and light has gone up by 10%. So we can see that among all of these broad categories, the inflation for fuel and light has been the most. In fact, we've seen Brent crude prices going up from around $95 before the war to now hovering around $104 per barrel. And even in fuel within India, we've seen petrol and diesel prices going up by around 4% just in the month of April. They've not been going up recently, but they had gone up following Brent crude prices. So those prices clearly are reflecting in the inflation figures. Inflation was at a 17-month high last when it was announced in the month of March. That was 6.95%. But now it has crossed even that. It's even higher than it was in the month of October 2020, which was during the pandemic. During the pandemic, inflation was around 7. After the pandemic started in October 2020, inflation was around 7.5%, but now it has even crossed that. That is why these numbers are really concerning. We've seen prices across commodities, right, from edible oils to cereals to fuel to to transport costs and to prices of housing, as we're seeing in these figures. All of them are rising. In August 2016, the RBI had decided that it wants to stay in an inflation bracket of 2 to 6%, and it was a target of the RBI. But it has again breached that target. And remember, the RBI, in fact, raised interest rates to control inflation just on the 4th of May because the inflation, yes, as I said, had been above the target. And we could see more strong measures coming to control inflation that we're again seeing really soaring.